Hello, this is Julian with Coffee Reviews, and today is part 3 of our 5-part blind taste test rankings video series featuring KaffeBox's 2021 Advent Calendar. So a reminder on how this series works is we have 6 cups of coffee over here, and we have 6 containers of coffee over here. We're trying to identify which of these cups is which of these containers based off of taste alone. We're going to be ranking them in order of our least favorites to our most favorite. And the winner of each and every one of these videos will be placed in a final video where we will determine which of these coffees is our favorite from the entire Advent calendar. So let's go ahead and introduce today's coffees, starting with day 13, and I don't even need to look at my notes for day 13 because I'm very familiar with day 13. It is the Ruby Batian Natural Processed Kenya from Coffea Circulor out of Arendal, Norway. And I'm familiar with it because we did a full review of that coffee earlier this year, and it was one of my favorite Kenyan coffees of all time. It's one of my favorite coffees of the entire year. So that one's a pretty big favorite to win this video, and it could be a favorite to win the entire Advent calendar. So definitely keep an eye on day 13. Day 14, we have the Sandra Milena Mora, a wash process Colombia from Morgon Coffee Roasters out of Gothenburg, Sweden. And we did a review of a wash process Colombia from Morgon earlier this year, and it reminded me so much of a wash processed Kenyan. Had so many Kenyan-like characteristics to it. A lot of the coffees I've had from Morgon have had very Kenyan-like characteristics to them. So that one could trip us up because on day 15, we have the Kiahia, a wash process Kenya from Tim Wendelboe out of Oslo, Norway. And surprisingly, we haven't done a full bag review of any of Tim's coffees, but we did review a couple of them last year in last year's Advent calendar, and those both performed pretty well. It did help that they're 2 of our favorite coffees, a Pacamara and a Gesha, so could perform pretty well in this video. It is still a wash process Kenya, so we'll definitely have to see on that one. Day 16, we have the Juan Sepulveda, a natural process Colombia from Supreme Roastworks out of Oslo, Norway. And we'll talk a little bit more about Supreme Roastworks as they do have 2 coffees on this table. But this one right here, it's a natural process Colombia, and if you watched the last video, then that one finished last in that video because natural process Colombians have been probably my least favorite coffee of the entire year. I like them even less than the anaerobics and even less than the wash processed Kenyans. So that one is a huge dark horse, so we'll see how that coffee performs, but again, expectations for that one aren't necessarily the highest. Day 17, we have the Deman Estate Natural Processed Kenya from Nord out of Oslo, Norway. And this one is an interesting one, and it could be a big wild card as we have a second natural processed Kenyan on the table, and I've liked every single natural processed Kenyan I've ever had. Funny, not the biggest fan of Kenyan coffees as a whole, and natural processing isn't my favorite, but when you put them together, it creates a coffee that I tend to really like, so don't know what to expect from that one, but it could even take first place, so we'll see. And then day 18, we have the Dumerso Anaerobic Natural Processed Ethiopia from Supreme Roastworks. And this is what I want to say about Supreme Roastworks because in last year's Advent calendar, they included 2 naturals, and in this one, they have a natural and a natural anaerobic. So they go pretty heavy on the fermentation processed coffees, and those tend to be my least favorite. So they are at a slight disadvantage in this video. Just wanted to give that kind of a heads up on this because I'm hoping that they perform better than they might, but truth be told, they're pretty big underdogs in this video. So let's go ahead and move these coffees out of the way so we can start tasting some coffees. And as always, none of these cups are labeled anywhere except for on the bottom. Just like to shuffle them around for good measure and kind of discuss what we have on our hands here. And we have 3 Kenyans, but I'm fully expecting the naturals to taste nothing like the wash processed one on the table. However, I am expecting the wash processed Colombia to taste like a wash processed Kenyan, so that one could potentially trip us up. The natural and the anaerobic could trip us up as well, as those tend to have some pretty strong out there flavors. However, I'm fully expecting that the natural Colombia will be the easiest one to pick out, as that just has been the case with so many of the natural processed Colombias this year. And we will give this one more shuffle for good measure. We'll start with that cup. All right, cup number 1. Interesting. I like this coffee quite a bit, actually. I think I might know what this one is. I'm not going to talk too much about this coffee right now. We'll go back a little bit over it a little bit later. It's got some wonderful sweetness to it. All right, cup number 2. All right, this one right here, it's probably the Kenya. It could definitely be the Morgon coffee on the table as well, but it's got some very strong savory components to it. Very intense cup of coffee. I really should have grabbed some water for this video as well, because I think these are probably going to be some pretty intense cups of coffee, and it might make it a little bit more tricky with coffees after them, coffees that follow. But that one I'm going to place right there for right now. I definitely like whatever this coffee is first, and whatever this coffee is second right now. As mentioned, pretty savory. Cup number 3. Interesting. I'm pretty sure I know what this coffee is. And I think it's that anaerobic natural from Supreme Roastworks. And I think it's probably the best anaerobic I've had in this advent calendar to this point. Got some interesting blueberries to it. It does have a fair bit of the fermentiness, but it's got some nice sweetness to balance that out. I've said as long as you have some, great sweetness to balance out how maybe strong the fermenting component is of a cup of coffee, it's going to be a little better. Pretty out there blueberries. So it's a pretty wild cup of coffee. I think I like it less than the Kenya still, what I assume is either the Kenya or the Colombia. So I'm going to place it in third for right now, but it's better than a lot of the anaerobics I've had so far. Cup number 4. Okay. I think this is the Morgan coffee. And I think that makes that the Tim Wendelboe coffee. Maybe I have that backwards. I mentioned that could definitely trip me up. Pretty savory. I think I do have that backwards. It's very, very strong savoriness to it. I think I like this one better though. We might run through that one more time, but I'm pretty happy with the ranking so far. Cup number 5. All right, and that's gonna make it tricky to taste the last cup of coffee. This is a super intense cup of coffee. This is by far the most intense cup of coffee on this table. It's definitely got a lot of that wininess to it. Very, very boozy, very, very fermenty cup of coffee. I think it's gonna be that natural process Colombia. I've said before that those tend to have a very strong and distinct characteristic to them, and I'm 100% confident that that's what that one is. And as a result, I can definitely feel it's still lingering. It is a very intense cup of coffee, dark chocolate. I mean, I've explained those cups of coffee earlier this year a lot, even in the last video. So I'm gonna place that one right there for right now, and we will go with cup number 6. Okay, we have 2 pretty clear winners, but I'm not entirely sure where I wanna rank them. So I'm gonna move this down right here. It's hard to taste this coffee right now. And I expected that after having something so intense that I might not be able to taste it as well. But we will probably go in depth and reevaluate those 2, as those 2 are by far the clear standout winners, and they're actually pretty close. So one of those might end up being a wild card in our final video. So let's go ahead and take some guesses. This one right here I said was the natural process Colombia, which I believe is day 16. Yes. Which would mean that this is day 18, which is the anaerobic. And the anaerobic was better than I think I was expecting, if it is the anaerobic. But again, it's not really surprising. That's how they finish. I've even said in the first video that I like the anaerobics a little less than I like the savory sort of Kenyan coffees. So I'm gonna run through these one more time real quick because I wanna get this right. Tomato, it's very tomato-like. And this one's slightly less tomato-like. It's got a slight bit of apple acidity to it as well. I'm gonna guess then that's probably gonna be the Kenya, which Tim Wendelboe was day 14, I wanna say. No, Morgan was day 14. Tim Wendelboe was day 15. So I'm fairly confident in those 2 guesses, but now we have these last 2 cups of coffee, and I'm hoping my palate's settled down so I can taste them a little bit more in depth. I could taste this one a lot better now. This is a lovely cup of coffee. This is a wonderful cup of coffee. I like both these cups of coffee. This one's slightly more tart. That one's a little bit more sweet. I think obviously I like the sweetness more. I'm a big fan of sweetness in coffees. I think I'm getting some really nice strawberry from that. I can't help but feel it's one of my favorite coffees of the entire year. So I'm gonna place that right there for right now. I think man, I really hope I don't get this one wrong. This one reminds me just a little bit more of that Chana, the natural processed Kenya from Onyx earlier this year. That's why I'm going to place them. I think that that's going to be the Coffea Circulor, and I think that that's going to be the Nord coffee. Let's see how we did. I'm 100% confident on this one. This one should say day 16, so yeah, not really surprising. We don't need to elaborate on that too much. I've talked about that a lot, especially in the last video. So day 18, I believe I said that this one was, so this should be the anaerobic natural processed, and it is. Same theme, but I'll give it credit. This one was a lot better than a lot of the other anaerobics I've had. This slight bit cleaner, a little bit more sweetness to it, so it was getting a little bit more well-rounded of a cup. All right, so this one right here I said was the Tim Wendelboe coffee, which should be day 15, so 15. Yep. And West Colombians can try to replicate Kenyans, but sometimes you can't replicate that strong Kenyan tomato characteristic. So even though this one was pretty savory as well, it wasn't quite as savory as the Kenyan still maintained itself to be. All right, so this one right here should be the Morgan, day 14. Yep. All right, cool. So 4 for 4 so far. Kind of interesting. It did outperform the Tim Wendelboe coffee, but that happens. All right, now here's where things will get fun. Which one will advance? And I'm pretty sure that they're both just going to advance, but this one I said was day 17, which is a Nord coffee. And it is. I like this coffee. And I think I said from the very start, the first time I tried it, I like that coffee. I like natural processed Kenyans. For whatever reason, they don't have the same sort of fermentiness. They have some wonderful sweetness, and they're just this really fruity, fun, out there cup of coffee. That one's great. I really like that cup of coffee, and that's why it's not surprising that day 13 over there, the Coffea Circulor coffee, yep, the Ruby Batian, which is a very special cup of coffee. So if you got this advent calendar and you haven't tried day 13 yet, I hope you enjoy day 13 as much as I do, because that is, I think that that's a special coffee. All right, 6 for 6 again. So back-to-back 6 for 6s in a row. I'm really happy with that. As I kind of mentioned, these two are big standout cups of coffee off the table. So right now, I think that these two are going to advance to the final, unless even if there are 2 amazing cups of coffee in the final, the 4th part, then I'll probably advance those 2 and do a 6 coffee final blind taste test rankings video. But these 4 cups of coffee for me have been the best cups of coffee in this advent calendar so far, and that's why all 4 of them are advancing. That's Jaku, the Morgan Ethiopia, and now these 2 natural processed Kenyans. So it's nice to see some natural processed coffees do exceptionally well. It's not really surprising the way these videos have turned out, because it's been my flavor profile cups of coffee that have won these videos and have advanced, so I guess we really shouldn't be too surprised. But this one, I feel like it was probably the easiest, but I'm really happy with the way this one turned out. So as always, if you have by chance tried these coffees, if you have the advent calendar, would love to know your thoughts and impressions. Which one was your favorite? Which one was your least favorite from this set of coffees? If you're enjoying the content, give this video a like. As we always mention, these videos take so much time, but they are so much fun to do. So give the video a like, because I really enjoy doing these sort of videos. If you're new to the channel, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. But this right here has been part 3 of our KaffeBox Advent Calendar Blind Taste Test Rankings video series. Thank you for watching.